Did someone come here looking for dark romance? Did someone come here looking for dark mafia romance? Because I got you. If you did, then I got you. Finding a clean romance is one thing, but finding a good Christian romance is a whole different ballgame. So here are some clean Christian romances that you need to consider reading. But seriously though, it feels like it took forever to find Christian authors that I truly enjoy. Girl, what? When it comes to romance, dystopian, fantasy, just pretty much anything fiction. And then if the first 2 to 3 chapters aren't good, it's automatically a DNF. I will not force myself to read it, like, at all. Therefore, that same standard applies to Christian books. Coming from a girl who loved reading Twilight, Match, Twisted Love, The Hunger Games, White Raven series, Monday's Not Coming, dystopian, fantasy, romantasy, thriller, literally everything, please understand that I understand what it is you're looking for when you're searching for a book that isn't too heavy on spice, darkness, or uncomfortable themes. But you still want to be sucked into the pages of a book. Starting with dystopian, we have, wait, girl. Let's try this again, okay? Starting with dystopian, we have a 5-star read. This is the Reverence trilogy by Raina Rude. I've talked about this book so many times in the past because I literally love it so much. It is a trilogy. I've read books 1 and 2. They were so good. 3 has already released, but I've been too busy to actually read it. I think that when I get book 3, I'm gonna reread 1 and 2 and then read 3. I was super excited to recommend this book. Like, when it comes to the romance, the lies, Vita Nova, the plot twist, the pandemic. Kira lives in the city of Vita Nova, which is insulated inside like a huge barricade away from the sick, dying, resource-hungry people of the unregulated zone. Those people are known as the lawless. However, inside the barricade, and all of this, I feel like, to make it make sense, there was a pandemic, and now following the pandemic, there's Vita Nova, the people who are safe, healthy, and well on the inside, and then the people in the unregulated zone are pretty much without resources, without medicine, without food, shelter, well, all of those things really. And the pandemic still exists outside of this barricade, basically. And then inside the walls of Vita Nova, there's this big program called the compulsory program, where basically they kill anyone over the age of 60 to save resources. And then it's not just anyone over 60. If you're sick, like you have a really bad disease or you require too much medical attention, they also kill you as a compulsory. But then there's another program, which is called the volunteer program, where you can volunteer your life for a week of luxury treatment, gifts, a whole week stay at a resort, again complimented with respect, treatments, gift, and a ceremony to celebrate and give you praise for your sacrifice, for sacrificing your life for the greater good or whatever. A lot of times if people knew they were sick, they would just volunteer, because compulsories don't get that treatment. Compulsories, there's nothing special for them but their family visiting them before they die in the hospital. Kira lost her mother to the compulsory program because her mother was too sick. So Kira decides to become a volunteers advocate for the volunteer program, and basically her job is to ensure that whatever volunteer she's assigned to, her job is to advocate for them and make sure they get everything they want and need throughout their whole entire last week. So whatever they can request, whatever their heart desires, if it's possible, they get it. She becomes a volunteer advocate and she gets assigned Mr. Will Foster. And his only request is to spend the whole entire week with her. Mind you, she doesn't know this man. She doesn't know this man at all. She literally has never met him. And his only request is to spend the whole entire week with her. Anyway, she agrees, and that's when pretty much everything falls into shambles into her lap. She finds out the truth about her mother, about Vita Nova, about the lawless, about the unregulated zone, about Will, about herself, about the compulsory program, literally about everything. Needless to say, I am in love with this series. Please read it. And if you don't like it, then that's embarrassing. I don't know. That would suck. You can tell me, but you really don't have to tell me if you don't like it, because yeah. Anyway, this was 100% a 5-star read. Did someone come here looking for dark romance? Did someone come here looking for dark mafia romance? Because I got you. If you did, then I got you. I got your back, babe. I got you. Beautiful Lies by Felicity Elaine. This one gets a 4.5 stars. It actually sat on my shelf as a TBR for a little bit because I just feel like the description didn't do it justice. But if I knew what was hiding behind this cover, what was inside of this beautiful cover, I would have read it immediately, like the second that I got it. Basically, this girl named Effervescent, or Effie, I don't like her name at all, but it's whatever. She did change her name in the book and then ended up going back by that same name. Anyway, she witnesses the death of this young boy in an alley. That young boy happened to be the younger brother of the Italian mafia underboss, Luca Bator. Remember that name? Now, Luca is like a complete psychopath while Effie is trying to get her spiritual life together. She's worried about going to church. She's trying to get her life together. She's not perfect at all. Like, she is not perfect. She has a lot of trauma and a lot of healing to do, but she's trying to get her life together. She's trying to get into the word a little more. Meanwhile, like I said, Luca is just like a psychopath. The only thing he's concerned about is revenge and vengeance. Like, he would do anything, literally anything that he possibly can do to make sure that he gets justice for his brother. And y'all know that that is not just with the legal system. Anyway, part of that is making sure that Effie does not run away again. So if that means trapping her in his mansion to ensure that she is present to give her testimony on what she saw and keep her protected from all the other people out there who might want to try to kidnap her or kill her so she can't give her statement, then that's what he's going to do against her will. So now it's kind of like a forced proximity situation, if you know what I mean. The part where the conflict comes is not even conflict, but like kind of like the pull is that Effie, she was struggling living out of a hotel, and all she really had, the only person she socialized with was her boyfriend, and this is after she had moved to a whole nother place, you know. So it's like, it's just really just her hotel and her boyfriend. At least that's what it was. Luca though, he was stupid rich. He literally could afford anything he wanted, and with that also comes power, control, and respect. He's able to get literally any woman that he wants without even having to pretend to commit to them in any type of way, shape, or form. They would just throw themselves at him. So you kind of see where it's just like opposite forces being forced together in a sense, and there's a lot of judgment and opposition because they have two complete different mindsets. They stand in two complete different places when it comes to faith, and they stand in two complete different places when it comes to status. Again, it's a mafia romance. There's a lot of bad words, violence, sexual content, maybe even talk of drugs and things like that. But that's what makes the book pretty realistic. And I love how the book has drawn a very clear picture of what it's like walking in faith in a room or a space full of unbelievers or people who don't share the same values. Like, that's just realistic. That's just life. The story isn't cornily perfect or unrealistic. It does include these different aspects of life. It just doesn't glorify it. So yes, those things are present in this book, but that just makes the story 10 times more perfect. I actually wonder how many more books. I know she has a few other books, but I don't remember actually looking down and seeing which ones. And I know I want to read more of her books, so I'm gonna go figure out what other books she has. I actually think that this might be a trilogy or something like that, but it's a series. But I think they're all standalones, if that makes sense, because I read Beautiful Lies, which says it's part of the Withered Rose, but I did not read Withered Rose. I did not read Clipping Thorns, and if there's other ones, oh, or I didn't read Starting Over, oh my gosh, or Fractured Diamond, or Run Darling. Okay, hold on, I think I'm gonna, when did she release Run Darling? Because I don't remember seeing that before, but it looks so good, and I think that's one of her. Yeah, it has a 4-star. Hold on, y'all. I have to go through all these and then see. But like, she has Run Darling. She has Disciples. Dang, girl. Hold on. I need to just fill my shelf right now. Like, I need to start ordering copies because I doubt Barnes & Noble are going to have any of them. Y'all, tell me which one I should read next, which one we should read next. But I do want to give all of them a try because, again, the description on this one didn't really capture my attention as much, but then I absolutely did love the story. So I think I want to give her other ones a try. Yeah, okay. Next is The One Who Knows Me by Joan Mbola, and this one is actually interesting because I didn't like it that much. I probably gave it a 2-star. I could not get into it. I feel like I got up to chapter 19 and I just couldn't take it anymore. I really could not take it anymore. So let's get into it. I did not connect with the main character, Tiana. She was actually very annoying to me. She had a lot of trauma, past trauma, that she kind of blamed God for. So she did lose her faith a little bit, especially with going to college, and she didn't care to maintain it. Really, her only goal was to obviously get through college, get her dream career opportunity, and to take control over her life and live it as freely as she wanted. She wasn't really worried about maintaining any sort of faith or relationship with Christ. And then she met this guy named Jaden, who kind of was the opposite. He had trauma and PTSD from past situations, but he still held on to his faith, and he tried to encourage her as best as he could. They began hanging out and doing a lot of things together and spending time together, and again, he tried to encourage her faith. That's pretty much as far as I got, which was seeing their relationship start to brew. Again, that was chapter 19, and seeing them hang out more and all those things, but I just couldn't take it anymore. But according to the description, they both come into a situation where her dream job is put on the line unless she can really surrender it all to Christ and return to God. And as for him, he's put in this situation where he kind of has to let their friendship go if he wants God to step in the way that God is supposed to step in and take control and be involved. And so they're both in this situation where they kind of have to surrender and rely on God, and it kind of tests their friendship in a sense, I guess. I included it because the concept of the book is great and you might like it. It just wasn't my cup of tea. But I don't know, I really wanted to like it. That's why I kept trying to read it over and over and over and forcing myself to get through it. But I figured it was worth mentioning because if you're really exploring your options and you do want more fiction options, you might like this author. Okay, next is The Love Script by Toni Shiloh. I gave this a 3.5 star. It was borderline another struggling girl, poor girl, whatever you want to say, falling for a millionaire. It's a romance between a struggling hairstylist and then a Hollywood actor. It was a cute, gushy little romance story. It felt like the perfect read between books. It wasn't too much or too little. It was like the perfect way to prevent a reading slump before it even got started, if you know what I mean. It's also a fake dating relationship kind of thing. They date to protect his image after a picture of them together got released, and it gave the complete wrong image of what was going on in that moment. And basically his manager came up with the idea to fake a relationship between them to save his image, because his whole platform is built on his bold faith, and he was seen with this woman and it really paints the wrong picture. In the end, they both agreed to do the fake relationship PR stunt or whatever, because both of their careers are at risk, so they're doing what they think will make it right. And of course they actually fall in love. Spoiler alert. I kind of felt bad for Nevaeh because they weren't really accepting of her, because Hollywood, everyone was so skinny and they had a certain image, and she just did not fit that image. She was curvier, and she didn't come from a bunch of money, so she didn't have all the fancy clothing or the style that everyone else had and things like that. This is perfect when you just want a cute contemporary romance to read. I always read something like this after I get done with a very heavy romantasy, fantasy, or even a dystopian, when there's a lot to process. Something like this, a simple contemporary romance, it'll always press my reset button and have me feeling good. Last, we have Aftermath by Terry Blackstock. This is a thriller with a side action of romance, and I did give it a 4-star rating. The book feels super engaging, which made it a really quick read. Aside from like the psycho side character who literally drove me insane. She was getting on my nerves so bad, like she was so psycho. Anywho, she went to a concert with her 2 friends. The concert was kind of like a political event too. It did get, you know, her 2 friends didn't make it out, but she did. And obviously she was left very traumatized from this event. Friends were right next to her and they did not make it. With that, she already had an OCD diagnosis in which she was on medication for. So throughout the story, it's like her OCD and then the PTSD and then the medication and the side effects of the medication, and then her being in denial, and all she wants is justice for her friends. She literally drove me insane. Meanwhile, on the flip side, there's Dustin. Dustin was pulled over a few miles from the site the same night that the explosion happened, and I guess someone left an anonymous tip on him, so they searched his car and they found the very same explosive used at the concert. Yeah, so obviously it was pinned on him and he's facing charges for it. So everyone knows that he is the suspect, including the psychopath side character who also decides to insert herself into the investigation and do whatever she can to get Dustin locked up and collect evidence and whatnot. Anywho, facing no other option, he calls his the best friend he hasn't seen in like years, Jamie Powell. She's an attorney and they haven't spoken in so long, but he calls her from jail and she answers and she agrees to represent him. So now also forgot to tell y'all, the only way she got him out of jail, I'm pretty sure she paid his bond. She didn't pay that with her own money, but he had some money. She paid the bond with that money, and the only way that she was able to convince the judge to let him out of jail while they await trial or whatever was to basically live together. So him and her daughter were living together at like a whole separate house, yeah, during this whole thing. And while they were living together, they're doing their best to solve the case because she realizes the only way that he's getting out of these allegations and all these charges dropped is if they find out who actually did it. Meanwhile, while they're trying to figure out who actually did it, Miss Psychopath over here is finding every single piece of evidence against him that she possibly can to pin it against. So it's just like all the forces completely against him, and Jamie doing her best to clear his name and them trying to figure it out. So obviously there's little chemistry brewing between them. The romance isn't like the heaviest aspect of it at all. It's really just the whole thrill of it all. But it was a very good read. It was super engaging. It actually switches perspectives between the three of them. The psychopath, I forgot her name, that's why I keep calling her that, but the psychopath, Jamie, and Dustin. But I hope I explained this book well because it really is interesting and I do want y'all to give it a try if you can. By the way, do y'all like books that switch perspectives? I don't know if there's an official name for it already or whatever, but do y'all like those books that switch perspectives on a chapter to chapter basis? The first time I picked up a book, I literally had no clue that this was a thing that authors were doing now. And it might have been like when Colleen Hoover was really popping or something like that. It was some book. I picked it up and I started reading and it started switching perspectives. And I was so thrown off and upset. Like, I was trying to get through the book, but I just was so thrown off. Like, it made me uncomfortable. I don't know, I just feel like a victim. It made me uncomfortable. It really threw me off. At least when it comes to like romance, because I want to experience what the main character is experiencing. Like, I want to be just as confused as she is. I want to believe whatever it is she believes in that moment. I want to be just as curious as her. I want to be just as stunned as her. I want to be just as shocked as her, right? I don't want to know what he's thinking until she finds out what he's thinking. I don't want to know what he's doing or where he's at unless I'm finding out through her perspective. I don't want to know anything from his brain. I only need to know from her brain and the people who's telling her and from her perspective. I don't know, I just feel like it kind of ruins the experience for me a little bit when I'm reading, for it to like switch perspectives like that. I don't know, but I do think that Aftermath or thrillers in general are the only books that I could really get behind that and truly enjoy it. It did not bother me. I feel like the perspective switching is actually what made Aftermath a bit more engaging and a bit of a better read. I did enjoy it. There were times where I'm like, okay, I want to hurry up and get back to this person's I can't talk. There were times when I was like, okay, I want to hurry up and get back to this person's perspective, but I actually feel like for Aftermath it made it 10 times better, if that makes sense. Now go melt into the pages of a book without conviction. I feel like at this point I literally need to go to a cafe, order hot chocolate or something, cozy up by the window with a good book and watch it snow. I don't know if y'all can tell, but there's a bunch of snow outside. It's been snowing. Our Christmas tree is up. I'm ready for the vibe. So come back next week to add more books to your TBR.